We have made over £1 million in the last 12 months with Airbnb and emergency accommodation. Now, you can see here that from in the last 6 months, we've done 309,623.46 from Airbnb, Booking.com, Verbo, and direct bookings. And then down here, we've got 234,915 and 70 pence from emergency accommodation alone. Okay, in the last year. Now, this, unfortunately, we only have the figures over the last 6 months because we changed our channel manager, so the previous data was lost. However, it's sure to see that even in the last 6 months, which are typically the worst months of the year, that we've still been able to generate 309,000 and obviously plus this as well. So you can see how we've generated £1 million in the last 12 months. Now, it's all down to this 3-point Airbnb cash flow system that we've created. The step 1 being the foundation, step 2 acquisition, and step 3 the cash flow. And that system has now allowed us to generate these bookings, and not only just get these bookings, but most of them being direct bookings where we're not paying online travel agency commissions. With like Airbnb, it's 15%. Most of the time our bookings are direct and we do not pay that 15% fee. And I'm going to show you exactly how this works and a breakdown of it towards the end of the video. Now, there's a reason why you can trust what I have to say. Why am I here speaking with authority on Airbnb, service accommodation, and emergency accommodation? And the reason is that I have a Chartered Institute of Housing qualification. I've got 6 years of property experience working for local authorities and housing associations, where I was part of a team covering 77,000 homes in the UK. And we've been guest speakers at the Wales, Liverpool, and Sheffield property networking events. And it's all due to these results, as you can see here. And these results have been sort of stemmed from the last 7 to 8 months, really. So you can see all of these are direct. Okay, so we've got 3,900, 9,400, 9,700, 7,000, 7,600. We've got some long ones here. That's a website booking. You see 9,300, 5,000, 4,000, 7,000, 9,000. It just adds up. And again, we even got one here for 51,792 for the full year. Okay, the continue 10,000, 7,935. These add up. We've got one Airbnb one here, but all of these are pretty much direct bookings. So we're getting that full payment into our banks rather than paying a commission towards Airbnb, who would take 15% of all of these. Okay, and these results are just from the last 7 to 8 months, and it's not even all of our bookings, of course. So these results come in on a regular occurrence all the time. So that's exactly why I have the authority here to speak to you and tell you why this 3-step process actually works. Okay. And we've been able to implement this 3-step process with the people that we work with on a one-to-one basis. So Jamie here, for example, was self-managing his buy-to-let. He had issues with large maintenance problems, and now he's turned his property around and is generating £1,000 plus per month and has a better maintained property all round because of the regular professional cleaning that was happening. Previously, he might have not gone to the property for 6 months, and then who knows what's happened in that time. Chris here had issues with his tenants paying their rent and causing damage. Now he's turned his asset into a £1,200 per month profit machine. And Rahib was already an operator. He had 1 unit when we first met him. And then using our 3-step process, he's now been able to generate a 12-month booking within the first 2 weeks of working with us. And is now scaled in the next 2 months to 4 units. And he's absolutely smashed it out of the park. And that's just some of the examples of the people that we've helped so far. Now, what is it about Airbnb? Why is Airbnb such a great opportunity at the moment? And I can prove it to you with these screenshots right here. So this is showing the growth of the Airbnb market in the last year. And it's obviously with revenue growing 12% in the last quarter of 2025. 10% increase in nights booked. So it's showing that there's an ever-growing demand for short stays and serviced accommodation. Now, this data is only from Airbnb alone and doesn't take into account Booking.com, doesn't take into account the other platforms or direct bookings. And you can see here as well, Hostaway, which is our channel manager, very respected channel manager in the industry. have estimated that 2025 was going to be a £4.68 billion market for short-term rentals in the UK. And even just a small slither of that market, even tiniest little percentage, you'll be doing extremely well for yourself. And lastly, the biggest opportunity right now, why Airbnb is so important and being spoken about so much, is the Renters Reform Bill. Now, this is coming into play in May the 1st, 2026. And you might be watching this in May 1st might have already been. Now, the reason why this is so important, you can see the key changes here, is the abolishment of Section 21, periodic tenancies, rental caps, pet rights, property portals where landlords will have to then actually put their details and actually be part of a register by the local authorities. And all of these different changes have meant that it's either forced landlords to out of the market to sell their properties because the returns aren't there, or the tenant rights have increased so much that it's now not worth their time, or they're looking for solutions. And the solution is Airbnb and service accommodation. So if you're a landlord who's struggling right now with their buy-to-let, then please get in contact with us. Use the link in the description of this video and have a conversation with us, and we can see how we can help you either transform your property into a service accommodation Airbnb. The other thing with this as well, if you're looking in the rent-to-rent space, or you're looking to do Airbnb management, again, this is a perfect opportunity because landlords are looking for solutions and they don't necessarily have the time or knowledge to go do it themselves. So if you can provide that service to them, then of course you're in a great position to be an incentive for a landlord to go with your service. And this is only just stacking up the reasons why at the moment Airbnb is going to be absolutely booming within the 2026 and continue on. So let's actually get into the 3-step framework. Now, step 1 is the foundation. It's understanding how the model actually works. How does service accommodation work from A to Z? Okay, what's the difference between the tenancies? What's a buy-to-let? What's a HMO? What's all these different property terminology, and what's it actually mean? Because you need to have a good understanding of property as a whole, in general, even if it's not necessarily your niche, because it always helps when you're speaking to other people and you can understand and have a good conversation with them about property, not necessarily even about Airbnb or service accommodation. So all of these things matter a lot when you're trying to build or scale a business. And secondly, is knowing your numbers, so you can fill out a calculator like this and understand what figures need to go into this, how to actually calculate the return on investment properly, how to find these figures as well, because that's another thing as well. Depending on where you are, these are going to be different for different areas, different property types, and knowing if a deal is going to actually stack or if it's actually going to work and be profitable at the end of the day. Thirdly, the area and demand research. This is so important if you're trying to understand what your customer type is. Are you better off suited to shorter term rentals for holiday makers? Is it better suited for contractors and working professionals? And that all comes down to doing your due diligence properly on the area and the demand. Fourth is the setting up properly, is setting up the business correctly, setting it up with the correct SIT codes, the compliance, insurances, so that you can never be burnt when it comes to running your business, and you're actually protected at the end of the day. Protect yourself, protect your business. And that is, it's a very important thing, but a lot of people do get that wrong to begin with. And then fifth is the risk management. It's actually understanding what are the potential risks with doing this, and understanding if that's going to work with your specific situation. Now, here is a quick example of property market intel. If you're going to be doing sort of area or demand research, this is going to be massively helpful for doing that. It's a great tool. So I would recommend using that if you want to. You can have it as an extension, or on the website, you can also do service accommodation forecasting, which is, a great tool to get in data quickly. Now we're going to move on to step 2, which is the acquisition. Where to find properties. Okay, so now you've done the basics. You understand the service accommodation model, how it works from A to Z. You know the numbers and how to stack a deal. You can do your area and demand research. Now you've got your patches that you're going to be looking in. You've got your property, the business set up correctly with the correct insurance compliances, and you've done your risk management. Now you can actually go to find the properties. Okay, and there's four main ways really to find properties. 3 of these are direct to landlord outreach. So Gumtree, great way of direct to landlord outreach. Open Rent, which is probably number one, I would say. That's where I found the most success, 100%. So that would be outreaching to the landlord, starting a conversation, not about Airbnb at this point. You're not trying to sell them, just trying to start a conversation, get a viewing in place, go to the viewing, speak to the landlord, understand their pain points, and then position yourself as the solution to their pain points. And at the moment, like we mentioned earlier, with the Renters Reform Bill, is a great opportunity to be meeting landlords on a viewing and then providing that solution to them because of all the legislation that's coming into play. And then the third one is the Facebook Marketplace. Again, this is a great way of finding landlords directly. However, you've got to be careful due to the scams that do happen on Facebook Marketplace. I myself have got scammed 3 years ago. So I have got a great experience. I understand the difficulties of using this. Be cautious when you are. And if anyone's interested in that story, I'll probably do it as a separate video at some point later down the line. And then the fourth way is direct to the letting agents. Now, this is a great opportunity at the moment because, as we spoke about, landlords are being either forced out of the market or they're being forced to look at alternatives. And if you're a letting agent, then you're probably losing business. As a letting agent, you might not have the facilities to actually be managing service accommodation or Airbnb. So if you can position yourself as a solution to the letting agent and go, look, I can help you retain the business, and either you pass the properties over to me and I'll provide a guaranteed rent on a rent-to-rent basis, and you can still take your commission from the landlord, or we can manage the property for the landlord as an Airbnb and we will cut you in on some of that commission. And that way they still retain the business and you also have gained a new landlord, a new client, so on. So they're the four main ways I'd definitely be looking at when starting out. And then secondly, what makes a good deal? This obviously comes into knowing your numbers and understanding that and being able to complete this calculator. The thirdly is the outreach. Again, these are all places where you can start looking to outreach, but it's actually understanding the terminology behind it, understanding the foundations, like we mentioned, even the Renters Reform Bill, or understanding what an AST is. So you can then position yourself really well for number 4, which is the pitch. Okay, you've got their pain points. You've been able to back it up with knowledge that you have. You may be even educating a landlord or a letting agent on these subjects, and then you position yourself as that solution. And then 5th is the negotiation when it comes to the contract. You've secured the property, you found the property, you've done the due diligence, it works, you've agreed with the landlord, they understand what you're doing. And then you've got a contract in place, and actually understanding the negotiation points within the contract is when's their break clause? Is there a grace period? What's the liquidation damages? All of these things stack up to make sure that it's not biased towards the landlord or yourself, and that is a fair contract all round. Okay, now we're moving on to step 3. Okay, so you've understand the basics on the model and how it works. You know how to stack a deal with the numbers that you require to know if it's going to be profitable. You've done your area and demand due diligence, so you know who you're targeting and where you're targeting. You've set up your business correctly with insurances and the compliance. You've done your risk management. You've now found a property. You've been able to analyze it to know it's a good deal. You've done the outreach. You know how to pitch to a landlord, and now you've negotiated the contract correctly. Step 3 is actually setting the property up correctly. Okay, and that's with the furnishing, the staging, the amenities, check-in videos. We do a lot of check-in videos to stop people asking us questions when they're staying at the property. The compliance as well, the EICR certificates, gas safety certificates, EPC, all of these things need to be stored and filed correctly within your business so that you're performing legitimately and doing everything by the book. Then it comes on to listing optimization. How can we make sure that what we're marketing is being marketed in the best possible way to get the most eyes on it? And you can see here, this is a new property of ours, so it hasn't got any reviews yet. This is also a newer account of ours. So, we've added these things in here. They've got professional photos done, good angles. Everything's done in a landscape picture as well because it looks better on Airbnb and booking.com. Then we've got the website in here so that people can come to us directly from Airbnb and call up to book with us, again, saving us fees. Very clear on the property amenities and exactly who it's for, what they receive, the configurations. Again, we've got another sort of CTA for us then to look us up directly. The parking arrangements, the house rules, all of these things, if it's all filled out properly and you're utilizing the whole Airbnb platform, then they will reward you better by pushing you further up the algorithm. And all of these things matter. Now, the third part of this is the pricing strategy. Now, to just give you an understanding, this is a screenshot from Price Labs. Okay, so this showcases, what Price Labs look like. Through Price Labs, once it's connected and integrated with your channel manager, you'll be able to set the sort of minimum, maximum prices for the property, and then Price Labs will analyze the data of all the properties in the area and of all the events and the season and everything like that, and be able to make sure that your price is optimized to make sure you're getting the most amount of bookings at the best possible price. Okay, and it will do this naturally in the background for you and for your business. Okay, so it's really important to have. It can also set up your pricing strategy, sort of your calendar strategy, so we don't get a 2-night booking 3 months in advance, and then that means we can't get a long-term booking in there because there's a two-night block in the calendar. So it all comes through Price Labs. Fourth, we've got the occupancy and the actual booking flow itself. In terms of this is the channel manager that we use, HostAway. HostAway is integrated with Price Labs so that obviously, like I said, the pricing is always the best it can be for any particular day of the year. And with the channel manager, it makes sure that we don't have double bookings. So if all the listings, all the properties are on here, and if somebody books on Airbnb for 2 nights, then it will be blocked out on the calendar. That's so somebody on booking.com couldn't book those same 2 nights, and it stops those double bookings and makes sure everything's systemized and working properly. Then fifth is the systems and automation, because this is the last part of it, because now you're looking to actually scale the business, and to scale properly, you need to systemize. Otherwise, you're just creating a second job for yourself. And if you're creating a second job for yourself, your time's being pulled about everywhere, and you don't have the time facilities to actually then go and scale this business. So it's very important the systems and automations in place. And these come a lot down to having a proper channel manager working correctly and the Price Labs. So for example, our cleaners will see that there's a checkout on HostAway. They will then be able to go to the property knowing there's a checkout. They will then do a report and their photos that will be uploaded onto HostAway for us to then review. And that way we don't have to keep on top of all the cleaners and say, look, there's a checkout this day, so on. It's all automated and they get notified all the time. Same with the maintenance. The maintenance is then, if the guest reports a maintenance issue to our business WhatsApp, the business WhatsApp will have a workflow where it then goes directly to our maintenance team, and then the maintenance team know to then check the calendar to see when they can go to the property to actually review the maintenance issue and then have it arranged and sorted. And then we're part of the systems and automation, which is probably the last part, is actually hiring. There's different types of hires that you can make within the business to scale. That could be a revenue manager, that could be an operations manager, that could be an admin. And all of those could be really important depending on what you're good at and what you want to do. And a lot of those could be either done via a VA, which could be external to the business. You could hire somebody who's an admin as an employee, or you could use somebody through Fiverr, Upwork, who could be a VA who's got experience and do that work for you in terms of guest communications, cleaner communications if there is any, maintenance, taking booking requests and actually inputting those into the calendars. All of those stuff can be automated and systemized once you get to this stage so that you can actually grow your business. Now, as a brief overview of everything that we've covered, I've shown you exactly what we have done in the last 12 months, how we have done this with this process, with a 3-point Airbnb cash flow system. Our bookings and everything about us, this system actually works, and the proof that it works. The people that we've helped to then implement this as well into their business or properties. The opportunity in Airbnb right now, which couldn't be a better opportunity. This framework, 3-point cash flow, Airbnb cash flow system works in terms of breaking it down in terms of the foundation, the acquisition, and the cash flow. Now, this is, of course, an overview of how to do things. If you want to actually implement this yourself, then please use the link in the description and apply to work with us on a one-to-one basis. We will review the applications to see if you're a good fit for our team, and we will go from there. But I hope this has been of great value, and if it has been, please subscribe. That'd be great.